Sunday.
Thank you. Happy Sunday. Happy first Sunday of March.
Absolutely. Yeah. Journalist Hangout starts now. Thank you for staying with us. Now let's begin with efforts by Governor Babagana Zulum of Borno State to continue to redefine governance in Nigeria. As part of plans to alleviate the sufferings of residents of the state due to the current economic hardship in the country, Governor Zulum has unveiled a fleet of electric vehicles to ease movement of people at a subsidized rate. These low-cost energy cars provide cheap transportation for residents, most of whom are recovering from the destruction caused by the decade-long Boko Haram insurgency. Let's share this story by TVC News. Jessica Fida with you. I will be right back.
Another day for residents of Maiduguri to go out in search for daily bread. They now pay 150 naira per drop against the usual 50 naira due to the removal of fuel subsidy. But all this is about to end. These electric cars were unveiled by the state governor to ease transportation. He says this is a part of his administration's commitment to giving a better life to Borno residents.
The most important thing is that you have to sustain all these, get good drivers, fire all those drivers that cannot maintain it. Before was very known for its capacity of generating internal generated revenue. You are doing your best, but we shall continue to support you. Most importantly, sustain what you are doing.
The cars are now functional, and residents are excited with this development.
Da mun kudin mashin muna biya 150 yau ubangiji Allah ya kawo mana sauki ba mu sani ba mun waye gari mun samu mota Allah ya kawo gwamnati mai adalci ya mayar mana naira 50 mun gode ubangiji ya kawo mana sauki Allah ya kawo mana sauki ubangiji shi ma Allah ya mayar mana da alheri gaba daya jama'an da suke neman ma talakoki alheri da mu gaba daya Allah ya ba mu alheri Allah ya ba mu zaman lafiya Allah ya buda mana gaba dayan mu kuma Allah ya sa mu bi shi wa gabanin mu.
We are very grateful to our governor Professor Babagana Zulum for his effort, because I'm living in Polo, that is Polo High Court. But to my surprise, when I'm about to go to school, then they are even calling me that the motto is 50 naira, which of sometime in the morning when I'm going to work, I used to pay 200, 300 naira to my destination. But to my surprise today, I pay 50 naira. And now I'm returning from my work now, going to Polo again, and I'm paying 50 naira. What I will tell our Oga, that is Professor Babagana Zulum, we are very grateful because of his effort. More effort, more elbow to his work.
Ya ba abin da za mu ce sai mun gode. Saboda mun ga canji kuma mun ga sauki. Da muna biyan kudin mashin a kusan 150 kullum akalla mu je mu zo drop daya ma muna biyan 300 to bari ma akalla kamar mu student mu za mu ce ma kamar mu akai wani abu kuma ba abin da za mu ce illa mun gode Allah ya sake dauka shi Allah ya dauka mai mulkin shi.
Some of the cars have been dedicated to conveying civil servants to their place of work from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning and return them from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Mondays to Fridays. They will continue to operate within the city 247, which will no doubt go a long way in easing transportation to residents of the state. Jessica Fida, TVC News, Maiduguri.
Gentlemen, talk about an intentional governor. Mikhail.
Yes, and we'll never be tired of reminding our governors that there's a lot they can do to ease the pains on our people, especially at this time when they are earning a lot more than they used to earn. There were months when the distributable revenue from FAC was just about 400 billion. Today, what they share is in excess of 1 trillion. That's tremendous. That's huge. That's a lot of money. And no doubt that is a difference maker, especially for governors who want to do a lot for their people. So just listen to those people who are interviewed, to listen to them. And that is why to hear from the horse's mouth is better than anything that you can think of. The people using those electric cars can hear them saying, look, we were paying 150, now we pay 50 naira.
And one of them was even saying they could not even afford that 150.
Yes. That's the thing. A lot of people can't afford 115 naira per drop. Because that means that on their way back home, they will still pay another 150. You know, that's 300 naira gone. Disposable incomes are shrinking because of food inflation especially. But it's not food alone that people spend their resources on. Transportation is one of the key drivers of inflation even in our country. So what Governor Zulum has done is what I expect his colleagues to do. This governor keeps setting the pace. Sometimes you ask yourself, if you were a governor in another state, maybe in an oil-producing state, for example, what will he do? Because Borno State has had to face years and years of relentless Boko Haram insurgency. Many of the local governments, people can't live in them, in most parts of the local governments. But you can see the governor determined to ease the pains of his people. Look at the woman who said that she lives in Jidari Polo and that in the past she used to pay 200 naira per drop. But she was surprised that she had to pay 50 naira. I mean, government exists for the people. If you cannot ease the pain of your people, and all you do is simply go to Abuja, collect the money, change what you want to change to foreign exchange, and just leave the people to the elements, in inverted commas, then you are not doing your job as a governor. We need to tell these governors the truth. And Nigerians are not helping matters because as far as they are concerned, everything is about the center. We can't feed our nation. We can't feed our people. The responsibility for big agric projects to ensure that we stimulate production in that sector lies more with the governors because they own the land. Federal government does not own land. But what are they doing? This is the point that we are making. There are governors today who have not shared a single grain of rice. We know them. They've not shared a single, and they got money to do it. It was announced, I know that they got 2 billion each. When it was released, it was announced. Yet some of them just dance around, just let people see me. We do not even see what they do. What are the civil societies doing? If they can't challenge governors to do their work. Some of them don't even sit down in their states to work. They're always in Abuja. They are distracted by all kinds of things. And before you know it, 4 years is gone. What would you point at? If you are not inventive, you can't think of things that you can do to ease the pain of your people. If Borno can do it, other states can do it. This story is about electric cars alone. But there are even CNG-fired vehicles that the reporter didn't talk about. And those CNG-fired vehicles are moving around in Borno State. And it's cheaper. So these are the things. But Zulum has shown that it's not about simply distributing rice. There are other interventions that they are making. Today, in terms of primary health care, Borno State is #1 in our country. They even won the World Health Prize. This is not something, this is what I witnessed. I saw the primary health centers built within 100 days. His first 100 days of his second term, primary health centers were ready, complete with all of what the people need inside those wards. And the vice president, Kashim Shettima, was asking him, are you saying you completed all this in 100 days? And he said, yes, the beds were ready, everything, in 100 days.
So it's indeed not rocket science.
It's not. It's about commitment, focus. This governor hardly sleeps, is thinking of what can I do for this. You see him moving around even in the night at the risk of his life in a state that is extremely dangerous. I mean, if you're a leader, you are a leader. I mean, I believe that governors like Omar Zulum come once in a while. He's the first governor to win the Zik Prize during his first term. That record is there because people can see. The people who award the Zik Prize can see the difference that he has made within so short a time. So during his first term, he won the prize. No governor ever won the Zik Prize during their first term. That's to tell you that he's truly special, and his appetite for work has not diminished. People say a second time they don't work, they just go to park money. Not this one. And we'll continue to pray for him.
And his work can speak for him.
Yes.
Emeka?
Yeah, I'm quite happy that, of course, there's a governor who is taking advantage of existing policies, existing opportunities. You know, for some years, there was this clamor for the review of the National Automotive Industrial Development Plan, NAIDP. You know, people were pushing for it. That was to enable the local production of vehicles. Interestingly, that was one of the achievements of the Buhari administration. It was passed in 2023. You know, it was reviewed in 2023, and it said, you know, that the local production of vehicles, that to try as much as possible to ensure local sourcing of materials up to 40%. So now that Governor Zulum has taken the lead, other governors should join it. The production of electric vehicles is very expensive. It's only China that has really been able to break that barrier, you know, in terms of cost. And that's why even in the US now, production of electric vehicles is quite expensive. It's not a lucrative business. But electric vehicles produced in China are much cheaper, and they are taking over the global market. So there are two options. If electric vehicles are quite expensive to produce, or you know like there are people, you know, converting the current gasoline-fired vehicles to electric vehicles, but it's complex, it's complicated. So, but it's easier and cheaper to convert to CNG. So, but the thing is that we have gas. Nigeria has gas. So, if it is the CNG, you know, nothing stops governors from, you know, investing in this thing, because look at the Electricity Act. It has been amended and gives opportunities to states. So many balance opportunities. The law cannot state everything in black and white. It can only just state, you know, this is available for you to do. This is available for you to do. This is available for you to do. Now, the electricity have been removed from the exclusive legislative list to the concurrent list. So, what are governors doing with it? Or you just seen them, you just pass enabling electricity laws, saying, okay, they will invest in generation, they will invest in distribution. But beyond that, there are other value chains that they can create, like electric vehicles. You know, if it's too expensive, the point is some of this money, the money that the funds that are being looted can actually be put into these things. Those are such social welfare schemes that can really touch the people, not just sharing money, sharing food. Because these things will generate employment. The NAIDP, one focal point is that it will create 1 million jobs. And you know what 1 million jobs in Nigeria is? Each employed person is believed to have 5 dependents. So that's 5 million people, you know, being catered for. And you know what that means in Nigeria. So I commend Governor Zulum for taking up the initiative. And I also think the private sector should key into it. Because honestly, by 2035, it's believed that gasoline-powered vehicles, now Europe says by 2035, which is just about 11 years away, they will no longer, produce gasoline-powered vehicles. So that means the ones they have will be pushed away to Africa. Now, what are we going to do for ourselves? We should leapfrog into the future. We should not wait until those things happen. And it will help us reduce our import dependence.
Absolutely.
And make things better.
I mean, it's also important that, for all we said, it's important that state governors take a cue from this and doing what they can, all they can in mitigating.
And the private sector too, they should partner the private sector. Because the private sector is set up to make profit. There's so far that state governments can do. There's so much they can do with government funds. Definitely they are not set up to make profit.
But they can start.
But the private sector can actually work. These governors can bring in the private sector and work with them so that these vehicles will be available to people. You can give them out to people, to operate commercial transport services.
All right, gentlemen, let's move on. It is said that a worker deserves his wages, and any denial can be likened to a calamity, such as befalling the Ambrose Ali University, Ekpoma, in Edo State. The chairman of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, at the institution, Cyril Onogbosele, said 25 members of the union died in the last 2 years while waiting for payment of their 26 months outstanding salary. Onogbosele also alleged that the institution is facing zero funding, staff victimization, intimidation, and imposition. The ASU chairman laments over selective payment of salary, outright denial of salary up to 26 months to many staff members, and non-remittance of deductions from staff salary. Gentlemen, one university, so many issues.
Yes, and that's why ASU demanded that something should be done about the proliferation of state universities. Some of these states do not have the capacity to fund these state universities sufficiently. They talked about a state in the southeast where even doctors in the teaching hospital of that university were being owed as much as 5 months' salary. That is Abia. I don't know what the situation is like now. If you owe doctors whose duty is to keep people alive, if you owe them 5 months' salary, you are putting the lives of patients at risk, because a doctor who has not been paid for 5 months is demotivated to give his best. I've never seen anything like this. Doctors should never be owed even 1 month's salary.
Yes.
And the religions preach against not paying the wages of a worker. In fact, the Holy Quran says clearly that the worker must be paid his wages before the sweat on his body dries up. That is what the Holy Quran preaches. But we have governors who can't pay people's salaries regularly. How do you set up state universities? Today, some of those state universities, if not for funding from TED Fund, they won't even have enough buildings on campus. TED Fund has been backing them, especially in the area of infrastructure. So there ought to be some form of moratorium about just setting up state universities that you can fund, and they are not even properly managed. Look at what this man is saying, that for a long time, they've not had a governing council. So how do you run a university without a governing council? And this is one of the oldest private universities in our country. Ekpoma in those days used to be reputed for having the best law faculty in the country.
Very correct. Very true.
When I was in the university, they were the best in law. So, but look, that is now the place where people work, teachers will not be paid for 26 months. So a teacher who's been owed salaries for as much as 26 months, how does he feed his family? That's why now 25 of them have died in just under 3 years. And teachers who are being owed salaries, allowances and all that, they are liable to being corrupt. They will ask their students for money. Even the ones who are being paid regularly in federal institutions, they still will park their cars, they will give their students the key, go and fuel this car for me. Things that were not happening when we were in the university, they happen these days. It's not about how brilliant you are. The teacher will say, take this key, go and fuel my car. Some will sell handouts just so that they can make ends meet. They do all kinds of things. This is a depressing story. I just can't wrap my head around the anti-workers policies that have been allowed to go on in that university. Why would you even make deductions from people's salaries and not remit to their PFAs? Even some states, it's happening in some states, where workers, the deductions from workers' wages were not remitted for so long to the PFAs. It's criminal. No one should be allowed to run an institution in this manner. And I really pity the students. I mean the teachers who have gone through a lot. I hope that we'll do something about proliferation of state universities. If you've not got the funds, don't start a state university. Because the stories that we hear, no.
Emeka, Ekoma is one of the oldest state universities. Do you think this is basically about bad leadership?
Well, it's more about confused leadership, not just bad leadership, because education is is the base of any modern, sophisticated, and sane society. If you don't prioritize education, what are you prioritizing? What are you prioritizing? I wonder, I mean, look at the governors we have today. Many of them don't seem to take education seriously. And if you cannot run a university, why are you setting up different kinds of universities, college of this, that, why are you setting up universities that tertiary institutions that you cannot run? Now, how can you run an institution without a governing council? The governing council is supposed to help the provost, the vice chancellor, in this case, to think, to plan, to seek endowments, to seek philanthropic donations, to seek areas where the university can make money. But if the vice chancellor is overburdened because there is no governing council, then why won't you have a situation like this? 25 months salary. That is more than 2 years. more than 2 years. So
the other issues are staff victimization, intimidation, imposition.
Yes, you see, these things will fester when you don't have a governing council. People, these issues ought to be brought before the governing council to look into. Because you have situations where some people in certain institutions have become so powerful that the authorities find it difficult to deal with them. So they victimize workers, and they engage in practices that are really shocking and surprising. Imposition, zero funding. It's horrible. It's horrible. And every year you will see these states will make budgets, but they will not give cash backing to these budgets. And then I wonder why Obaseki, Governor Obaseki, you know, who loves to go about and say fancy things, you know, here and there, say fancy things, make fancy declarations, you know, recommendation, the federal government should do this, the economy is this and that and the other. They say charity begins at home. Show clear examples from your state, not make, you know, advising the federal government that has how many universities? Has a number of universities. It's running. And then you just one state university, you can't run it efficiently. I think Governor Obaseki should start now. He should start today. He should start the process of constituting the governing council of that university and then give the Vice Chancellor matching orders to ensure that all these issues are dealt with. It's shameful to say the least. I mean, look at the name attached to the university. Professor Ambrose Ali. That's not a small person in the academic world. He was governor of Old Mendel State. And this, and you know the funny thing, Professor Ambrose Ali, you know, he was in the Unity Party of Nigeria then, which prioritized education and gave books. And I benefited. I got free books from Professor Ambrose Ali's administration. Free books, Masset, all these things. You know, we got a lot of people who were in senior classes got free jam forms and all of those things. And then you now don't bother about the legacy, that you are messing up the legacy attached to this great Nigerian's name. The right thing should be done immediately. So, gentlemen, before we move on, how do we flourish as a nation when the two most critical sectors in our country suffer greatly? Education and health.
Yes, and it's, we have to start by funding education and health sufficiently. Why don't we just start by even meeting the United Nations threshold? Let's even start from there. There are countries of the world who prioritize education so much that if you ask them to mention their 3 priorities, they will tell you education, education, education. Because if we look at countries where researches have helped to make the world a better place, it's all founded on education. We cannot have a situation in which our universities are no longer centers of excellence, centers of quality research. In the past, it wasn't like that. I believe that funding is at the root of this problem, because he talked about selective payment of salary, zero allocation, zero funding and all that. If we improve funding, they will pay salaries regularly. There will be enough money set aside for research, because that's what the university is all about, you know. So, and some of these researches, the products of these researches will make our country better, will make our world better. If, for example, one of the big agricultural universities in our country can come up with how best to preserve yam, for example, Nigeria can make a lot of money, because we don't know how to preserve yam. When the former minister of Agric, Audu Ogbe, could try to export yam the other day, before the containers got to destination, they had all become rotten. And of course, the problems in our ports, the needless searches by the multiple agencies of government, EFCC, immigration, everybody wants to be at the ports for the purpose of extortion, nothing else that I see. It takes weeks to check and check and check and then pass cargo fit for export. Yam especially, for example. In Ghana, it takes just 3 days. People who are wise have made up their minds to pass their cargo through the ports of our neighbors. Because the encumbrances that they face here, the bureaucracies that they face here, They are not there in Benin Republic, for example. They know they are more efficiently run ports than ours. So there is a lot. We have to improve funding of health. Funding is key to turning things around, both in health and education. And then we need people with bright ideas who can come up with ideas that will turn around the situation.
All right.
You know, let me just quickly chip in something. What Jide said about yams. I understand that some of the yams that Ghana is reputed to be exporting actually come from Nigeria. But they are able to package them well for export. Yams from Nigeria, I think they're taken from Nigeria, cultivated there, and packaged for export. What are we doing to ourselves?
If we continue to waste time before we clear those goods, this problem will continue.
Yes.
If they can do it in 3 days. Yam doesn't like humidity.
Yes.
Doesn't like heat at all. So you need to do it quickly. Let us get to that place. And how, for example, look at Kenya. Look at Ethiopia. They export flowers. How are they able to do it? They export fresh tomatoes. As they are harvesting those things, the airports, the cargo airports are there. They take them abroad. They freight them abroad quickly.
We were exporting flowers before, up until Buhari's military regime.
Gentlemen, we need to move on. There is a crack in the ranks of the Kano State Hisbah Board in the efforts to maintain sanity in the state. The Commander General of the Hisbah Board, Sheikh Aminu Ibrahim Darawa, has resigned his position. The commander, known for his efforts in upholding morality, particularly among TikTok users, expressed frustration at the challenges it faced in fulfilling this responsibility. The timing of the resignation raises speculations, especially in the face of Governor Abba Yusuf's expression of dissatisfaction with the board's approach to arresting people. Emeka, let me start from you.
Well, very interesting that the board, was accused by the governor, of engaging in the abuse of the human rights of people, of certain people it arrests, especially young people. You see, young people are impressionable, adults in the making, and you in some cases you need to be flexible in handling them. If you are too harsh, you will jump over the board and you will destroy everything you actually intend to do.
That's very correct.
So like the governor described it that they were hugging women, grabbing young men by their legs, beating them with sticks, hauling them into hillocks. But you don't treat human beings like that. You can't even pack animals like that. We're not talking about human beings. The law says that a suspect is innocent until proven guilty. But if you are beating people with sticks and all those, what you're doing is that you're already conferring guilt on them. And you are affronting, it's unconstitutional. Because Nigerian constitution forbids torture. So you cannot already you cannot impose a verdict where you are not a court. So it doesn't matter whether you caught people in immoral acts and all of that. You are not the court. Yours is just to arrest. And you arrest in such a manner that you do not engage in torture or dehumanization. So, and that was what the governor condemned expressly. But the Hisbah commander, I think, maybe...
says he's discouraged.
Well, but the governor is his boss. He held that appointment at the pleasure of the governor. Right. So there's nothing to be angry or unhappy about. And if the governor, by the way, didn't say he will remove him. The governor didn't say he was not, that he had lost confidence in him. The governor addressed a specific issue and gave recommendations on how these things should be done. And out of respect for the governor, he should have, cleared it. The governor said the entire Hisbah board, not just the head. He should have sorted things out of respect, for the governor, and let things go ahead. But in resigning, well, I hope the governor will get somebody, a replacement who will, listen to the directives of the state government and carry them out appropriately.
Biko, where do you stand on this? I mean, this law has been there right from time. So,
you know, religion is a very emotive thing, and there's no way we can discuss this without looking at how some people feel about what has happened. The preponderance of opinion in Kano is that the governor didn't do well in handling this matter. Yes, that particular girl, Moria Kunya had been making a lot of posts, abusing people, insulting people. She's a particularly tough girl and fearless in the context of the environment.
okay.
You know, it's a very conservative environment.
Very conservative.
But here is a woman not afraid to speak her mind, not afraid to take people on and all that. So when the ISBA arrested her, in line with the law, they did not breach the law in arresting her and took her before the court. The court remanded her for 7 days, pending when the matter would be heard. But before the expiration of 7 days, I think after 3 days, the correctional center was told to release her by the court, of course, which again is unusual. The court had given its order that someone should be remanded for 7 days, and before 7 days, the same court goes out to say, oh yeah, let her go. Many people believe that the governor piled the pressure to ensure that she was released. And when the governor complained about the mode of operation of ISBA going into hotels to raid hotels, packing men and women, you know, in their society, they don't like men and women being lumped together. You know, like what you see here, a motorbike will pick you, a woman will sit
at the
back, or even in front. In Kano, nobody will allow you to do that. So when the governor complained, many people felt, oh, he complained because of Miss Kunya's matter, not because ISBA had been operating before now. They will confiscate dozens of beer cartons and destroy them publicly. The governor never complained. So the feeling that people have is that he complained because he likes this particular person. And there have been pictures of the governor and the girl, you know, the pictures went viral. So the complaint of the commander of ISBA was that he tried, after the arrest, he tried to reach the governor before even taking the matter before a court. But Governor Abba didn't pick his call. That's what it meant that he was frustrated, because the governor has to change his ways. If your aides find it difficult to reach you, then it becomes a big problem. Because if he had succeeded in reaching the governor, that would have affected the course of action. Maybe he would have taken a different step. But because he couldn't reach the governor and he had to take a decision, decided to go to court and to release the woman against a decision that these people had made, that the commander had made, was something that he felt humiliated him. So now we are hearing that the governor is making moves to bring him back on board. But of course, as is with everything in Kano, this matter has already been politicized.
Absolutely.
Many opposition elements are happy that yes, it serves them right, NNPP people, because the girl is a member of NNPP. That the NNPP people, they are quarreling among themselves, and it serves them right, this and that. But in my view, if the governor feels that certain things about Isba's mode of operation must change, then she has to call the Islamic clerics and say, look, some of these methods are not good enough at this time. What do we do? Taking action or putting down Isba publicly will turn the people against him, because you have to look at the environment. And today, if you ask many people, even the famous journalist Jafar has criticized the governor that, look, the way you handle this matter is not good enough. The people who hit the streets, the average Kano man is conservative. In this matter, they are siding with the commander because they felt, look, if it was someone else, the governor would not have intervened. If it was maybe a PDP member that was involved, the governor most likely would not have intervened. That's the way people feel. But there are genuine concerns about their mode of operation. You can't be flogging people the way they've done, packing people together, people who are in restaurants and all that. So there has to be, yes, it's not a perfect, Isba is not by any means perfect, just as our own police too. But I believe that the best for the governor is to call the big Islamic clerics and tell them, yes, we set up this this Isba as a product of our laws, but we need to rejig their mode of operation and let him hammer out some form of consensus about how they can operate and all that, instead of taking actions that will appear to undermine the board or his commander. And he should make himself more accessible to people who work with him. This is my feeling.
Those who have even said the commander seems to have moved on.
And the girl has also sued. She has now gone ahead to sue the Isba, sued the Grand Cadi, sued the police. You know, so it's sometimes when this kind of court cases happen, they have a way of achieving what people did not even expect. Perhaps the issue of human rights and all that, the courts will look at the exercise of human rights and all that, and maybe take a consequential decision on Isba itself. We'll just wait, see what happens.
All right then. Let's move on to some security matters. The security situation across Nigeria means more measures are required to restore lasting peace. As such, the Senate has directed the Police Service Commission and the Nigerian Police to recruit a minimum of 10 candidates from each of the 774 local government areas in Nigeria. The Senate said the directive should form part of its annual recruitment processes. The resolution was marched after a motion moved by Senator Emmanuel Memga, representing Benue North East, on the need for the police to adhere to the federal character principle in the recruitment of constables for the force. Okay, that's about 7,740 police officers yearly.
We have to do that because we are already behind. For years, they didn't recruit into the police. And now, our police is grossly understaffed. Look at how many of them are guiding VIPs. We do not have enough police to man our country.
The IGP is even saying 190,000 officers needed to secure this country.
Yes, because we did, you see, the recruitment stopped at some point. It should have been a yearly thing, because every year policemen get killed. Every year policemen retire. Every year policemen are dismissed. And when all of this happen, vacancies are created. So the point is, we are not even filling those vacancies. We ought to constantly recruit. All of the argument between the Police Service Commission and the IG about who should recruit it should not have happened. They took themselves to court over the matter of recruitment. who should recruit, who should train. You know, these are needless arguments. But we've been set back seriously by the fact that the recruitment that should have been a yearly affair was stopped for years and we didn't recruit. So now we are playing catch up. If we really want to have enough policemen, you know, to man our country, to protect our people, I will even suggest that it should be like 2 policemen. It should be 20 policemen for each local government. These 10 that they are talking about, in my view, are not enough. 20 per local government. Let's bring in enough policemen, give them the training that they need. Not, and it should not be an all-commerce affair, because some of the people who ended up in the police are worse than armed robbers. It's just because they couldn't find any job. Correct. They couldn't find any job to do, so then they got into the police. The communities, the local communities, the traditional rulers have to be involved in the recruitment of policemen, because they are the ones who know these guys. Before you know it, you go and recruit a hardened criminal into the police, and he will turn his gun against our people. He will use his guns to extort money or even kill people. So, but we can't deny the fact that we need to continue to recruit into the police. So I agree absolutely with the Senate that we need to also abide by the federal character principle. Know that the police will be dominated by a section of our country. That's not what we want to see. Let's have all the zones, geopolitical zones, well represented. Let's recruit. Do you know how many policemen these people in the southeast have killed? In the name of sit at home and all that. I met a policeman in Akwa Ibom who came home. He said, if I know how many policemen have been killed in the southeast, that in fact the country will shake. So they just keep, these things don't get reported. As he said, you get into buses, they will identify you, bring you down and kill you right there. A lot of such killings are happening. That's why we have to also, it's undesirable that these things are happening, but there are also living gaps that need to be filled. People are scared to even wear their uniform. So this is, some of them, they go to their homes, drag them out and kill them. That is what is happening. He said that he's trying to even get out of the police now. And he's been begging to be transferred from the east to his own state. I said, we face, bandits are killing them in the northwest. The IPOB and the rest of them are killing them in the southeast. Yet we are not recruiting regularly. We have to do something, ramp up.
Right, Emeka, that's the conversation about recruitment. But the chairman last week, the chairman of the Police Service Commission, Solomon Arase, is talking about a paradigm shift in the recruitment of young people into the police force.
Yeah, of course, we need younger people to be brought into the. I mean, the entire security sector should be made more attractive. You know, should be professionalized, such that, you know, and then politics should be removed from it, because you find out that in this recruitment, you see, you talked about the southeast. I know efforts that people have made, people made during the last recruitment to encourage young people to get into the police, but they refused. You know why? They were saying there was this talk that when they get recruited, they will be pushed to Boko Haram areas to be killed. And I found that strange. Why would people get recruited? And then because they are from a certain part of the country, they'll be deployed to, but these are things on the street. And when you have...
They are being killed in the southeast as well.
So, but you see,
far more than
that of the killings in the southeast, at least a lot of it has gone down, because the security agencies have pushed back and really dealt with many of those dangerous elements, So the thing is, politics should be removed from the recruitment. Yes, recruitment into
the policeman
should be...
Mounts a checkpoint on a Monday in some parts of the southeast is gone.
Well, yeah.
Most policemen don't even... Checkpoints are deserted on Mondays. Apart from maybe Enugu...
No, but there are places like Oka, Onitsha. You don't have, sit at home of a thing is gradually wearing off.
Sit at home. Our people traveled.
Yes.
Our people traveled for the light up project.
Southeast project, yes.
They couldn't get to Enugu, where the vice president was hosted.
On a Monday.
They got to Okpanam around close to midnight. And they were advised not to proceed. Because once you cross into that Monday morning, you are going to Enugu, you are playing with your life. So they had to...
No, but well, let me just put it this way, Well, I don't know who gave them that advice, but...
No, the customs men, they were attacked. Our people were macheted. TVC staff were macheted. Their phones taken away.
Where? In Okpanam?
Yes, just after Okpanam. They were macheted. Those ones were robbers. No, robbers. No, yes. I'm not saying they are this because sit at home doesn't work in Delta.
In Delta, yes.
Now, in that confusion, they lost time.
Okay.
And everyone knows that, look, if you want to go to the southeast, you move ahead of the sit at home. Nnamdi Kanu has said no more sit at home. But it is clear that
there are still some renegade elements who are just...
So people are being killed.
Yes.
People are still being killed. Even videos are being released where some people were lucky. They will shoot the video to say, look, you are a policeman. We advise you now. We won't take your life, but leave the police. The videos are there.
Yes.
So these guys are still killing policemen. They are killing policemen. Especially on sit-at-home days, and when they identify you that you are a policeman or you are wearing a uniform, you will lose your life. It's a fact. That we've not been able to put an end to that violence. We've not been able to.
But that's been brought down significantly.
And a lot of people are being killed silently. It's not everything that gets reported. That is the point.
But the other thing is that you see, in between, there are also criminals taking advantage of some of these things.
We know.
Like the case recently of a president general of a town union in Anambra State. Of course, when he was killed, the first suspicion was that it was his kinsmen. Maybe there were disputes and all that. But at the end of the day, it was alleged that it was his tenant who carried out that killing. So you see, it is really unfortunate, when you're talking about the separatist agitation, is a problem on its own. Then there are the opportunists, who are just taking advantage of these things. Then you also have these native doctors who are telling the young people, don't worry, we will give you a shorter route to wealth, faster route to wealth, come and patronize and all that. And then this emboldens people to go into crime. But all these issues, the security agencies in the Southeast, they must be really commended. I wish to commend them because
the kind of sacrifice
they are making a lot of sacrifices, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all. And I know that they are really doing a lot. They are positive. They are they're really winning the war against
Yes, but let's go at a break, and when we come back, we will continue this conversation. You're watching Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We'll take a break now, and we will be right back. Stay with us.
Stay ahead with the biggest news stories. Go beyond the news headlines. Experience impactful investigations. Enjoy resourceful news coverage in real time. TVC News at 7 and TVC News at 10 p.m. Live every day on this channel. TVC News. First with breaking news.
Thank you so much for staying with us on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. And I've been hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Emeka Madunago. All right, let's move on to our next topic, which is still about the police. The poor state of affairs within the Nigerian police has continued to elicit reactions from stakeholders. The former Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Dahiru Abubakar, has lamented over the poor state of the force. Abubakar advised the federal government to increase the funding of the police and other security agencies towards enhancing their performance in addressing security challenges facing the country. Before we get into this discussion, let's share this story by TVC News. Theophilo Starify with you.
The resurgence of activities of armed bandits, kidnappers in communities and highways and other heinous crime across the country has been a huge worry for many. Experts say Nigeria has all it takes to tackle insecurity, which has lingered for too long. In an interview with the former Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Dahiru Abubakar, he says increased funding for the police and other security agencies will go a long way in reducing crime. He adds that intelligence gathering, training and retraining of security personnel to sharpen their competencies and improve their capabilities is also key to restoring peace.
We need to go back to the drawing board. Drawing board in the sense that we are playing with the safety and security of our lives, generally. Because why? Security is a serious business. And security is never cheap anywhere in the world. Check. If you want to do it right, you spend a lot of money. They need to take care of the police and the state security service very seriously in terms of equipping, in terms of welfare. These are agencies of government that will go to bring information and intelligence and processes, and because they are part and parcel of the civil society. The military has an important role to play. They too need to be supported and assisted. But you go to England now, I'm sure the only person you'll be afraid to see is police to arrest you. If there is law and order, then we'll get it right. So we need to spend more money in terms of equipping the police to fight crime and crime. Because when you allow small crimes to grow, if you have a delinquent child who doesn't go to school, and because he's wandering about, he started petty stealing within family, you allow him to grow. He become an armed robber, right? Gradually, he become what? A bandit or a kidnapper or a terrorist or whatever you may call him. But if you tame him at that level of his delinquency and look after him, we have abandoned so many things. Before, anywhere you go, as a stranger you enter a community, you are noticed, you are known. Is this same today? No. So we need to go back to the rudiment, and officers and men of all the security agencies need very serious training. We need retraining, restructuring, and refunding of these services. Our recruitment policy has to change. We have to look for the right people. Not people who want to come into the service because they are looking for a job. But I'm not, if I get to be in the army, I will just be in the army because I have no job to do. But I don't want to be, in my heart of heart, I'm not going to be a professional soldier. I'm not willing to die.
The 16th Indigenous Inspector General of Police believes traditional institutions and other citizens have a role to play in the quest to tackling the myriad of security challenges currently plaguing the country.
And the community to have a responsibility to work in collaboration with the security agencies to provide the needed information that will assist them to fight the crime. Please go to the next police station close to here and tell them there is robbery 5 kilometers away. 3 things may happen. 1, if you are lucky, they have a vehicle in that police station. If you are unlucky, the vehicle may not have foil. If you are unlucky, the number of personnel there are too few to be able to go and fight the armed robbers. So are we not in trouble? We are talking about safety and security, and safety and security doesn't understand anybody's language, doesn't know anybody's tribe. we need to do what we need to do to change the perspective now and to do it very seriously. Go to factors that contribute to crime. High level of poverty. Isn't it? Unemployment. The haves between the haves not is widening. The gap between the haves and haves not is widening every day. There is no more middle class. You are either rich or you're poor. So unless the government address these situations, we aren't ready for such. And security agencies must be seriously re-equipped, refunded, restructured, and retrained.
The call to the federal government to increase funding for security agencies, intelligence gathering and information sharing to tackle insecurity is coming at a time communities and highways, especially in northern Nigeria, have continued to be a hotbed of banditry and kidnappers, which has forced many to abandon their ancestral homes for the fear of the unknown. Safely Darufai, TVC News Kusau.
Former Inspector General of Police Mohammed Dahiru Abubakar speaking there with our reporter Theophilus Darufai. Bikio, sadly, these conversations didn't start today.
Yeah, and as somebody who was CP here in Lagos, who was CP in Kwara, who became Inspector General of Police, he knows all of these issues. He's very familiar with all of these issues, and I appreciate his honesty, because all of the issues that we are conversant with, he talked about them, and he didn't try to hold back. The police needs radical retooling, no doubt about it. And that's what he talked about. He said the police have to be re-equipped, restructured, and then retrained. You have to equip the police sufficiently. And you have to fund the police. You have to fund the police. Why do we have a situation in which even an area command of the police, you go to an area command, all you see are disused vehicles? When there's an emergency, they want to respond, but they don't have the vehicles to respond, or they do not even have fuel. Someone was telling me that when he was area commander, that his imprest was 18,000 naira.
Area commander?
Yes, 18,000 naira. As area commander, what can 18,000 naira do? This is how we fund the police. Some police stations, they do not have electricity. I've witnessed that myself. They do not have electricity. There was a day I traveled to Maiduguri in the late 90s, and we came in very late. I was scared. That time they had what they called Operation Zaki. I had to sleep in a police station. No light. Mosquitoes, because I slept on a bench, mosquitoes dead severely with me. And that's where others stay. I can't forget that experience. Yes. Really? We need to fund our police. We need to also show respect to them, because the treatment that we give the army, for example, we don't give the police. We appear to think that the police, they never do well, forget them. No. It has to change. The recruitment has to be sustained, as we said earlier. I'm glad that he also talked about it, and we need to do our best to nip crime in the bud. We need a police that responds effectively to intelligence to nip crime in the bud. That is the best that we want to see. That's what we want to see. So kudos to IGP, retired IGP MD Abubakar, still looking fresh and full of ideas.
So Emeka, when we talk about recruiting Nigerian youth with fertile minds and mental mobility. How do we get them with these kinds of, with these enormous challenges?
You can see that what he said, from what he said, 60 to 70% of crime in Nigeria is driven by socioeconomic factors. Basically, socioeconomic factors. So it's necessary for those in authority to really look at crime in its proper dimensions, so that the right solutions can be applied. It's not just enough to employ youths. Because they are younger, but it's okay, we'll employ only graduates. They'll get frustrated. And in time to come, they will fall into the same rut you are trying to correct. Why? Because if they are not motivated, what do you expect them to do? They have families to take care of. So you must make sure you fund the police adequately. You must make sure, those of the authority must make sure that necessary reforms are made in the security sector. So that, and then I have advocated this, that government may need to create a special force for VIP protection. Not the regular police. I find it odd, seeing policemen carrying bags for VIPs. And some are not even really VIPs. Maybe some small politicians, maybe who just got, who just came in, came in contact with some spare change, that they can throw around. And then you see the way they utilize policemen, they use them, send them, to accompany their wives to the market, carrying bags.
Help them to carry handbag, even food at parties.
The police, the Nigeria police is a national institution. It is part of our heritage as a nation. When people visit a country, one of the things one of the symbols they look out for are members of the police force. They look out for the police. When tourists visit, they look out for the police. They want to see, so that when they go back and talk, write things about the country, say things about, discuss about it, they talk about the security, particularly the police. There are many countries you go to, you may not see you may spend 1 month, you may never see one single soldier, one single member of the armed forces. I thought there are countries that make sure that their military forces have very minimal contact with the public. It's a rule, they forbid it. But the police, they are there one way or the other. You may encounter them on patrol, or they may even stop you, ask you for a passport and all of those things. So we must accord the police the right respect. We must create a special organization, whatever, for VIP, and then you can charge the VIP, so that from the money you charge the VIP, you use that money to run the VIP protection force. Let our police force, let the Nigerian police, I think even that name force should be changed to police services like South Africa. So so that you give them the right kind of motivation. And then let's have Nigeria Police Service that will work for the people. And then you pay them well, motivate them well. Why should a police station not have electricity? In these days when we have solar, when there are many opportunities, when there are many alternatives, to powering police stations. All
right, we've talked about the issues, but quickly before we move on, M. Abubakar also talked about traditional rulers taking their roles seriously. He charged them to stop protecting these saboteurs in their community.
Yes, so we've seen even in Borno, in Zamfara, his home state, we've seen traditional rulers deposed or suspended for hobnobbing with bandits.
Yes.
One of them banned a notorious bandit the other day. At a very big ceremony. Some of them collect money from these outlaws, and their relationship with bad people is not helping the security of our community. So it's right. The former governor of Kogi, the immediate past governor of Kogi, he started punishing traditional rulers in places where insecurity was rampant. And that helped him to calm things down. You strike, bandit strike in the community, killing so many people. the traditional ruler is made to pay for it. He gets suspended. Next time, he knows what to do to keep his area safe because they get information that they don't use. That's why Wike said the staff of the FCT manning those communities must hold regular security meetings. Otherwise, he will hand them over to the security agencies. So now, that way, you will show to the world that you are concerned about the security of your area. When undesirable elements come into a community, you raise alarm. Not for strangers, people that you don't know, they will come into a community, you are not bothered, you don't press the alarm button until they strike. Because from the experience in Plateau, these guys will come in, they can live with the people for up to 2 months. On the day that they strike, you will have no means of stopping them because they're already aware of your weak areas and all that. So traditional rulers have a role to play in keeping their domain safe.
Thank you, gentlemen. As economic hardship bites harder across Nigeria, citizens are getting angrier. In Zaria, Kaduna State, hoodlums attacked a boa truck locked with cartons of spaghetti at the Dogorawa axis of Zaria-Kano Expressway. According to an eyewitness, the driver had parked the truck by the roadside to observe prayers when the hoodlums struck, looting all the cartons of spaghetti before fleeing the scene. Well, Mika, I mean, you would think this is a more conservative environment and people would... Is this hunger?
Hunger doesn't... Well, the point is that it's unfortunate that because there was another one. There was another one in the FCT.
Yes.
Karimo, where they,
there was also one in Nigeria last week.
Yes, and they were looking for other warehouses. I think, yes, there is hunger. There is hunger, people. But I think also traditional rulers and community leaders need to step in. We should not allow the people to think that, they can resort to, antisocial behavior. You understand? Because they have to, feed. I think...
Because that the driver parked to go and pray.
He was praying.
Yes, he went to go and pray. So, yeah, but when you have things...
They packed everything before he finished praying.
Yes, but you see, when we continue like this, it will not solve any problem. We'll only descend to a Hobbesian state. It will not solve any problem. Yes, definitely the government...
a truck.
Yes. The government says they are doing their best. They are doing what they can to deal with, the unfortunate situation we found ourselves. Yes, and basically caused by food insecurity. By food
there was nothing he could have done.
Yes, there was nothing he could have done. Even if he decided to round up his prayer, how will he confront these people? Except to explain with his life. You can't confront these people. These days, I think companies will have to insure their products, or at least when driving across highways, because people would loot anything on site.
But what about the warehouses?
Those ones looted Nema House.
Nema warehouse. The
warehouse, yeah.
What about the warehouses when they?
And they need to protect those places. They should know. The governor of Adamawa has been warning people to stay away from their warehouses, stay away from government warehouses, because he knows that people will want to loot. It happened during COVID. That same place in Karmo was attacked during COVID. Yes. But what people don't realize is when emergencies happen and you have to relocate people from their communities, you have to feed them. Because you've taken them away from their means of livelihood, maybe their farms and all that, their shops. They have to be fed. And what they are looting in those warehouses are usually the first things that respondents give to people in IDP camps and the rest. So you don't have to loot those. Remember how a Nigerian army officer who was a military assistant to the immediate past to the former NYC Director General, how he stopped those who wanted to loot the NYC Secretariat without firing a shot. He said, look, you want to loot their mattresses and all that. When these people are posted to this way, what do we give them? If you loot their mattresses, on what would they sleep? So he found a way to calm them down, and they didn't loot. Another incident happened during that COVID era when they attacked the customs training school.
Yeah.
And those guys said, look, the cars here are not exhibit cars, they are our cars. The computers here are our computers. You cannot loot.
Okay, why would people want to now loot cars, loot computers? And you say it's hunger. Then
that's crime.
It is, it is something else.
So the computers, they will have emptied the place of those computers that people use during their training. And they said, no, you can't do this. In the end, they had to gun down some of them because they were not going to stop. They were scaling the wall, coming into the premises. I know that these are difficult times, and it reinforces the need for our governors to move. This kind of thing, I'm very certain that it won't happen in Yobe, it won't happen in Borno, because constantly the governors of those two states are moving into communities to give people palliative grains and all the rest. So I don't encourage our governors to move in, try to ease the pain on our people, although what has happened is criminality.
It's criminality.
There's no justification.
And again, Vicky, how do we ensure this does not become a trend? Because one of the
if we are not careful,
this is the first time in 10 years that it would be
along that route. Yes, it's a very quiet area, on the way to Kano. If people continue to get away with it, they will not stop. Others will do it. Yeah. Now, vehicles moving food and other products to different parts of the country would come under this kind of attack. So we need to do our best. And all of those warehouses, by now, the people who run NEMA and other places should know that they must protect those places. They need to protect those places.
Can you find out what it is?
People, the situation in the country is bad. There's hunger, no doubt. But I think also people need to be, community leaders need to speak to people, plead with people. Because if you loot these places, one, you're going to throw people out of jobs. The driver of that truck may have been sacked. Because the management won't say you went to pray and all that. The management may just have sacked him. Now, you have thrown somebody with a family out of work. You satisfy your own hunger, but you put one man in trouble. And then maybe some other people along the line, you put some people in trouble, you throw some people out of job. So it's a vicious cycle which will not do anybody any good. So government should work harder. Yes, get food across to the people, but also deal with insecurity. Let these people, because the energy these people exerted in looting this truck, if they put that energy into the farms, if you remove the people causing problems in the forest, if they put the energy in the farms, we will have much more food, and there won't be need to loot these trucks.
Great perspective. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's move on to some other issues, and this is an economic matter. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has continued to wield the big stick in its efforts to sanitize the foreign exchange markets in the country. The CBN announced the revocation of the operating licenses of 4,173 bureau de change BDC operators with a violation of regulatory guidelines. In a statement, the acting director of corporate communications, Sidi Ali Hakama, said the action is an exercise of the powers conferred on the Apex Bank under the Bank and Other Financial Institutions Act 2020 and the revised operational guidelines for Bureau de Change 2015. Thank you.
Yes, I think that every Nigerian can see now that there is a pressing need to sanitize the foreign exchange market. For so long, people had been doing what pleased them. Our currency has been taking a beating. because of the activities of speculators, because we now allow virtually everybody to be a bureau de change operator, selling the dollar on the streets as if it were a commodity. There is nowhere in the world where the dollar or any foreign currency for that matter gets sold the way we sell it here. And it's because it's an opportunity for people to make quick money. NNPC staff, CBN staff, the big people in the CBN, they all have this bureau de change outfits. Why do we need as much as 5,000 plus bureau de change? Yes. Why? There's nowhere in the world where you have, because for so long, in the 80s and 90s, when we were growing up, this was not the situation. Okay. And look, in 2006, we had 100 bureau de change outfits in Nigeria. By 2009, it had climbed to 1,147. By 2021, we had 5,500 bureau de change outfits, meaning that during the President Buhari regime, a good number of people moved into bureau de change business. Then February 2024, it had climbed to 5,690. Then March 2024, after the clampdown by the CBN, it came down, the number of BDCs in Nigeria came down to 1,517. I insist that we don't need to have that many. In other countries of the world, they are very few, usually in the points of entry and exit in a country. Because as you are coming in, you have your tons of dollars, you change your currency to their currency. Because some countries won't allow you to use the dollar. Like the South Africans, now you can't use the dollar. No matter how you beg somebody, a trader, he will not allow you to buy anything with the dollar. That is the law. And they don't want to go to jail. But in Nigeria, some schools are asking people to pay. So we have big decisions to make. We have to stop transactions in foreign currency. And I also think that even government agencies still collecting dollars from business people and all that, they have to stop it. If people are coming to Nigeria, just as Ned Nwoko suggested, tourists are coming to Nigeria, they must change their currency to our currency. We must stop them from using their currency on our soil. So that is important. I'm happy that the CBN has taken some steps. For example, if you are sent money in dollars, banks are forbidden from paying you in dollars. They will have to pay you in naira. And then sellers, people want to sell foreign exchange to BDCs. Like if I have tons of foreign exchange now and I want to sell, if I'm selling above $10,000, I must explain the source. I must explain the source. So that will also help, because a lot of illicit funds are coming into the system. And what these guys are doing, they are altering the foreign exchange market. And payment for all digital transfers and purchases of FS shall be by BDCs. And they should be transferred to the customer's Naira account. So it must be transferred. If the customer is not resident in Nigeria, the CBN says you must issue him a Nigerian, a Naira credit card. So what they are trying to do is limit the preponderance of the dollar in transactions within our country. But I know that even in all of this, they have to look at the banks. Banks that kept as much as $5 billion in their vaults. Doing what with it? So they have to take a look at them. I'm happy that they've also taken a look at this Binance Nigeria. Well, the CBN governor said more than $26 billion came in through Binance from sources that they cannot account for. You don't know. The suspicion is that this must have been either stolen money or money meant to energize terrorism and all that in our country. You have to know who is. If you go to South Africa and want to change currency, they will take your passport. You have a record of it. You are not going to stand by the roadside and be speaking to some person who will now. No, they will take your passport. You have a record of it. If you are involved in crime and all that, they will catch you easily. So we too need to begin to take these steps to help to strengthen our currency. The CBN governor talked about paying some of the debts that the previous administration owed. You know, they're owing airlines about $2.2 billion. And he said, okay, another $400 million has been released to clear part of the indebtedness. My feeling, my belief is that if we are able to clear all of these debts, it will improve the confidence. It will make more people to have confidence in doing business here in Nigeria, which will stimulate foreign direct investment and foreign capital inflows into our country. You can see that because of the reforms, 2.2 billion has come into our country by way of foreign capital inflows, because there's a level of confidence in the system. They can see that you are paying, but nobody wants to come to a country where he cannot repatriate his funds. You do business here. That's why the airline, Emirates, for example, they stayed away.
That's
because
correct.
they are owing them. So I believe that once we are able to do this, more people will come into the country to do business, get some enterprises in our country will benefit from investment by foreigners. And of course, they are going to bring their cash. I believe that liquidity will improve if we continue to push hard to deal with the people distorting the foreign exchange market. And then we take steps that will show people that, yes, we are serious this time around and we are open for business. So I'm confident that things will improve in the area of liquidity in the foreign exchange market.
All right, Emeka, what's your impression about this reduction? Do you think it will bring some sanity?
Well, I think in whatever we're doing, we should avoid hurting legitimate businesses. Then again, we've got to make up our minds what we really want. You have banks, financial institutions, but the same banks will tell people to go to the people selling foreign currency on the streets. So you've got to take a decision. If you don't want BDCs, borrow the change, scrap them.
Well, is that possible?
Why not? But there was a time it was a government that started licensing borrow the change. They said there were 100 at a time. So why not? If you don't want BDCs, scrap BDCs. Let the banks do everything. Let the banks stop directing people, go. Because when you now have to bring in more parties into direct financial transactions, then you leave gaps that can be exploited. Don't forget, in the financial system, you have investors, you have speculators. In every financial system, you have arbitrage. Arbitrage is legal globally, but there are people who engage in criminal arbitrage. unregulated arbitrage, which the Nigerian government needs to look into. Now, let me tell you one funny thing about the situation. One Cameroonian, I don't know if you've seen the video he recorded, and telling fellow Cameroonians, said, this is the time to go and invest in Nigeria because the CFA is now doing better than the Naira. One CFA now is 2 Naira, 61 kobo. So he said, just, rush to Nigeria and invest. Pack your CFAs there, which is unfortunate because, sadly, you have 14 African nations that are using the CFA. But the Naira is just in Nigeria. It's not a tradable currency, which is unfortunate. Well, we couldn't have done anything about it. But what I believe is that, you see, having parallel markets, parallel markets for foreign exchange, I think is not doing us any good. If you look at the report released by one of these telcos, you can see where there's a reference to something like, a preferential forex, regime, which, that was put to his advantage. But even at that, it declared a loss. So, Nigeria didn't win. The telco didn't win. So, if we can just summon the courage and have a unified foreign exchange rate, unified forex rate, so when we begin to deal with these things, let people who need foreign exchange to import, let them have access to the foreign exchange. Then the other thing is that we have a balance of, payments problem, which Dida has talked about. We need more, inflow of, foreign exchange to be able to meet up with these things. And we need to continue to try to woo, foreign investors, not portfolio investors, those who just come with their briefcases. Yes, it's part of the problem of speculation. You have people who come with their briefcases with good money, they get some very good conditions, invest in the stock market, then within 3, 4, 5, 6 months, they scram. You look at it, that the stock market has really, gained a good rally, it has gone up and all of that. All of a sudden, things start, heading south. So we need serious investment, FDI, to flow into the economy. Then, another problem we have is balance of trade. We are really, really disadvantaged because our main export, our main area of comparative advantage is oil. But look at the theft of oil. If we can deal with that oil theft and then try and meet up with our OPEC quota, which is 2.2 million to 2.5 million barrels per day, if we can try and meet up with our OPEC quota, more money will come into the country, through that, our mainstay. And that will help us to readjust our balance of trade deficit. It's a big problem for us. It's a big problem for us. In a problematic economy like ours, there are 5 major things that governments do. Increase interest rates, which the central bank just did. Increase the import duties, which the Nigerian Customs Service has done. Remove subsidies, which government did. Ramp up exports. And then the most difficult of all is declare austerity measures. We've done 1, 2, 3. Trying to ramp up exports has been difficult for us. But, I hope government will not have to get to the point of imposing austerity measures in order to arrest the galloping inflation. I just hope that this galloping inflation does not jump into hyperinflation. So the government should, like Dida said, make the big decisions so that we stabilize the system.
All right, BKO. You heard Emeka. Can we really scrap BDC operations in Nigeria? And also, I'm looking at the infractions CBN talked about here. Several of them. If these infractions have been there, was it a case of ignoring at the detriment of the economy or what?
Yeah, some of them, impunity reigns in our country. These guidelines are well known to these guys. The Bank and Other Financial Institutions Act 2020, Act number 5, and the revised operational guidelines for broad exchange operators 2015. They know what the CBN expects of them. For example, some of them neglected to renew their licenses. They refused to render returns. showing compliance with CBN guidelines and anti-money laundering and all kinds of infractions. What the CBN demands is that 75% of any foreign currency sale conducted by BDC must be electronically transferred to the customer's Nigerian domiciliary account or through a prepaid card. The CBN does not want to encourage people, collecting the dollars in cash, which they can now move to the parallel market to sell. So once you infringe on those guidelines, then the CBN will move against you, and they are constantly revising those guidelines, looking at what's going on. Look at what they've done with these Binance people. What I've been told is people just sit in front of their computers and begin to speculate. And other people, BDC operators, before they start their business on a given day, they want to first check, what are these guys, these cryptocurrency people, what are they quoting? They will now use that to decide what at what rate they will give currency, they will sell the foreign currency to people. We've had situations in the last few weeks where even the official market, their rate was higher than the black market rate. There were occasions that I've seen, maybe once or twice. What they are trying to achieve is some form of parity, or if there's no parity, let the margin of difference be so small to the point that it doesn't encourage round tripping and arbitrage, as it were. Because if you're asking for foreign exchange, you must have something tangible that you want to do with it, not simply to sit down and make insane profit from merely selling the currency. There are people who need this currency to bring in goods and all that. You can't go to the official foreign exchange market, take dollars, and then take it to black market to sell. You have access to something that many people needed badly that they did not have access to. So they are trying their best to discourage that wide gap. Is what has encouraged the constant speculation on our currency. There was a time that the gap was almost 200 naira. Yeah. Huh? So who will not go to the black market when you can see that, if I go to the black market, I will make so much money. All of these have not helped the forex market. I'm not proposing that BDC should be banned. We see them being used in other countries. We see them, they're active in other countries, although they are not this many.
Like Thomas Cook.
They are not this many. In our country, they are all over the place because everybody believes that, yes, I'm not.
Globally, it's majorly Thomas Cook. That
so we need BDCs. They operate, whether it's in Dubai or everywhere you go. You see them, BDCs, they operate, but they must be licensed. I'm happy that right now, they said, okay, if you're a Taiwan BDC, you pay 2 billion naira as a license fee. Tier 2, 500 million or so. So they are trying their best to sanitize the system, make sure that, look, it's not just anybody that will come into the business. I would probably have said, let's not have them. But the banks have not helped the situation.
That is it.
Because we were selling dollars to these banks, we were auctioning dollars to these banks every week. Some weeks they will take about $120 million. Banks will share amongst themselves. But these same banks, rather than sell to customers through their desk in the banks, they had people, abokis, that they will direct you to, if you need this thing, go and meet. I say, man, I've seen it in my own bank.
It happens.
I've seen it in my own bank, and I'm saying, do you work there? He said, no, but he helps them. He was the one who sold
you
it to
see
me.
them even in the banking hall sitting there.
So it allowed people who collected dollars at the official rate, direct from the CBN,
all right,
going to sell it at almost 3 times the rate. 400, you got around 400, 430, and you are selling at 700 plus. That's why the banks are making so much profit.
But what about the issue of politicians? The corruption in Nigeria, where politicians collect FAC allocation, check.
Yes.
Whenever FAC goes to his meeting, distributes money.
Yes.
Look at what happens. The Naira will dip.
Yes.
Just monitor it.
That's why somebody suggested that the president
Naira will dip.
needs to call a meeting. I was watching someone who said, look, we have to take big decisions. The president needs to call a meeting and say, gentlemen, I'm aware of what's going on. Let's stop doing this to our country.
Yes.
Because their security vote, nobody audits their security vote, so they take a good chunk of the security vote and simply convert
to dollars. And what is...
Let's move on to our final discussion for today. The crisis rocking the All Progressives Congress APC in Benue State has assumed dangerous dimensions. First, the party opened a factional secretariat. Also, the State Police Command sealed the party's secretariat following a directive from the state governor, Reverend Father Hai Santania, who embargoed all forms of political meetings and gatherings in the state owing to the volatile security situation. The police also stopped the Austin Agada-led executive committee from holding its political meetings slated for Friday, the 1st and 3rd of March. Mikhail, this crisis seems to...
we talked about this some weeks back.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's now things have degenerated.
Absolutely.
The governor tried to use the courts to remove Austin Agada, the state chairman of the party, from office. But the same court that gave the ex parte order has now reversed the decision. So Austin Agada is still
the state chairman,
the state APC state chairman. Now, the next phase is how do we stop him from functioning? How do we emasculate him? How do we asphyxiate him? So that it will be clear that, yes, it is the faction loyal to the governor that is
that will function.
That has the room to operate. The governor's people have opened a factional office just very close to government house. The other camp have been using the state secretariat of the party. Some ESCO members and all the chairmen of the party across the 3 zones of Benue are with the state chairman of the party. This is a tough war, tough TURF, between the Secretary of Government of the Federation, who brought Father Alia in the first place, who did everything possible to make him become the candidate of the party. Father Alia was very popular, no doubt about it, but he needed to win the
election
primaries of the APC before he can become their candidate. The SGF, Akume, did everything to make that happen. One of the things that I did was to ensure that they opted for direct primaries. If it was delegates, if it was by delegate module, people who had been in the party for long, people like Barnabas Gemade, they certainly, because it's their party, he just came to join them. There's no way we will have defeated them. Well, that's a matter for another day. Now, the governor, seeing that Agada was going to hold a stakeholders meeting, got the security agents to stop him from getting to the venue.
I think there's a deal to that effect.
And now they've succeeded in ensuring that he cannot hold meetings in that place. But earlier is saying that, okay, he's doing all of this because of security and all that. But the PRO of the party in the state is accusing the governor of bringing back Togri into the politics of the state, that this was something that they fought against for years. But this is what we are seeing. Remember, I talked about the first real battle between the governor and the SGF, which was on the floor of the assembly in the state. The governor wanted his own person to become speaker. The first election was a tie. But by the time they did the second election, the governor's candidate prevailed. And we had a situation in which, for the first time, I've never had where the lawmakers were picking their leader and the governor sat with them throughout. You are not a lawmaker, for God's sake. It is their show. But you sat there to make sure that it was your own candidate that prevailed. So it's a thing of, it's a big shame, really, that things have gone this way in the APC in Benue State. It's clear that the governor wants to be his own man. But
so is this the right way to...
But there are better ways of doing this. That's why I was saying the other day that Wike is behaving like he's the first person that will help somebody to power, and then the person will show lack of gratitude. How do you describe what is happening? It's even worse. Shebi Wike was able to bring people into the cabinet of Fubara. Show me a single person who is in the cabinet of Adalia who is the SGF's person. Was he allowed to nominate people into the cabinet? Nobody. The answer is no. So sometimes when you talk about your own pains, you are behaving like, oh, your problem is the biggest. Look at your neighbor. His problem could be actually bigger than yours.
Emeka, do you think this is a battle of irreconcilable political force?
There is nothing irreconcilable between politicians. It's just, when the sharing formula does not favor one side, they start fighting. Politicians don't fight ordinarily. The point is that, of course, clearly Akume has not been treated fairly by his godson. But I think Akume, too, his own style of politics, he needs to look at it. He fought with the former governor, who was also his protege. He fought with the former governor. He helped the former governor to move from PDP to APC and helped him, to power. Then they fell out. Now, the former governor moved back to PDP till he left. And he made sure he frustrated his senatorial ambition. Now, this is another protege. You are fighting with another protege. Then something is wrong.
Well, when you say he's fighting, how has he fought him?
No.
The thing is, look.
With the Austin Agada executive.
The party, the governor had not even kicked off before he broke away.
Yeah, but
somebody said from the first day.
Yes.
So if you broke away from the first day, what are you going to say that he did to you? He has not one person in your cabinet. Shebi Wike and Co. They put people in Fubara's cabinet.
So why would the governor go and pick the first person?
It depends on the
second one after 8 years.
Do you know what remember what Wike said? That if he had picked someone else, by now, he would have been in trouble. So it depends on who you pick. You pick the people who are minded to not even have anything to do with you. I don't think I can blame Akume in this case, because this man didn't even allow him 2 weeks. He said Otom, he told someone that at least Otom gave me 3 years before he fell out with me. This one didn't give me 2 weeks.
But you brought him.
Yes, he brought them, but you see, you can help people to get to power.
Oh, yes.
But there's no guarantee that they will remain loyal to you or be grateful. There are people like that. Did you not see when the former governor of Gombe, when he lost his wife, and Dan Kwambo came to the house, he said, this is the first time since your inauguration that you are entering my house. And this woman who died was the one who used to receive you well, bring food and all that. The man was disappointed. He told him, right, he was mourning, but he told him the truth. So there are some politicians, once you help them to power, they don't want to see you. But as human beings, there's anybody that it happens to amongst us, we can't be happy. I was telling people, I said, how do you help people to power? They turn against you and they will say, no, leave him, let him work. Don't disturb his administration. At least you want to have a feeling that this person is grateful. How is Zulum able to do it? Why didn't Zulum fight the vice president? But they're able to operate, and we are not seeing any evidence of rancor. I think it was too early for Father Alia to take on this man. I guess he made up his mind, and once I get there...
when Austin Agada was selling Father Alia...
Yes, on Politics Tonight. Yeah.
It was full of hope.
Now it's the same person that is using the police.
That's what I said, when sharing formula does not work out, politicians start fighting. So they should sit down. They should
get to the level of sharing.
They should sit down behind closed doors, you know, and tell themselves...
Sit down anymore.
You know, because it's unfortunate. You know, it's just...
Look at the police being used now. I mean...
Why should you drag the police into very simple...
You are stopping them from meeting. You are saying no more meetings. You are saying this, they should not meet. But your own people can meet.
You don't even need to... This kind of a thing, you don't need to bring the police into it. The party, the APC in Benin has elders. They have leaders of thought. They should come together, bring them together. And then let Fadali also let the governor...
One thing I know is that the APC regulation says that the governor is the leader of the party.
Of the party, yes.
But you have a governor and you have an SGF.
That's a comrade.
SGF, one of the biggest persons in government. That's Austin in Black.
Yes.
You know? One of the biggest people in government. You tend to feel, this person is formidable. How do I stop him from interfering? So we are stopping him from the first day. He sends a message. I don't understand.
But, I mean, when they say when two elephants fight, the grasshoppers, how can how can both parties make sure this does not further degenerate?
That's why I said they should set.
I don't think anybody can settle this. So. Yes. Because some are even saying that Adalia may even leave for the PDP. It's already been suggested that he could leave for the PDP because I don't think the national leadership of the party agrees with what's going on. What I meant initially was that vice chairman of the party in 3 zones of the state, not chairman. They are with the... So, I don't know. Maybe the president.
Okay.
The only but must the president be getting involved everywhere?
Also, I said again.
Oh, president.
Because he has the clout that others don't have.
Yeah, but I mean, then when will our politicians become...
But this is shameful because they are putting people in harm's way. Yes. The next time they clash now, I'm sure people will be injured and all that. That's not what we want to see.
Not the best.
Sad situation there. Gentlemen, we need to go. Thank you so much, Emeka Madunago.
Thank you very much.
Bikio, thank you so much for always.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for watching. That's all on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of this program at 5 p.m. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11:30. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
The Inspector General of Police has met with senior officers to review the state of security.
We are continuing our coverage of the arrest of Godwin Emefiele.
The Senate has summoned the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria to properly brief the Senate regarding the state of the economy.
President Bola Tinubu has announced the total removal of fuel subsidy.
The first subsidy is gone. What I will never take is threat.
Let's now bring you more development from Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, where an explosion has taken place. Tell us about this incident.
TVC News. First with breaking news.
Every weekday on Business Nigeria, we uncover the secret of the financial world,
breaking down intricate economic and financial matters.
We analyze the stock market, shares, bonds, and the thrilling world of cryptocurrencies.
We unveil and analyze complex policies of the CBN and other government parastatals as they affect your everyday life, keeping you a step ahead every time.
Okay, this is very good. Facts matter. Our team dives deep to separate fact from popular opinion.
We simplify complex government policies as it impacts your everyday life, helping you navigate the ever-changing financial landscape.
Watch Business Nigeria every weekday at 2 p.m. only on TVC News. First with breaking news.
Every week, Green Angle, in partnership with Wild Aid, will bring you a documentary series on environmental issues affecting Nigeria's amazing biodiversity, from climate change, air pollution, and wildlife conservation. We will be traveling across Nigeria to give you on-the-ground report of the issues affecting our environment. It airs every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
TVC News Weekend Lineup. TVC Breakfast Saturday with Kemi Fola Adeyemo and Emmanuel Ajayi. Political Standpoint